I got my Stay Humble, Stay Hungry wristband. Hopefully George
very nice.
Mulhern gives us some props for that. I've carried this thing around for, I think I'm going on 4.5 years now. But
Dang.
Nice.
Okay. Well, I know people are continually joining, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting for too long, so I think we can go ahead and get started here.
okay.
Let me, I was going to full screen that, but okay. Yeah, so POTS replacement crash course for education. We got a pretty fun show for you guys. We are joined by David Earp, Partner Solution Architect at Cradlepoint. Ben White here beside me, Regional Account Manager for RCN, and then myself, Mark Indelicato. I'm the Marketing Manager and your host for today, also from RCN. So really excited to have you guys on the show today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah, cool. So let's jump right in then. POTS overview. So this is just, kind of a basic overlay. David, do you care to kind of explain what we're looking at here, what POTS lines are? I know you guys kind of hinted at it there a second ago, but what are we looking at here?
Yeah. So, the POTS lines come in any, physical copper connection that needs communication back to, a central office of some kind in a lot of cases, or even just a telephone switching center, So, we had mentioned the fire panels and elevators, elevators, you'll have a phone in it for emergency purposes, right? But, depends point, you also want to monitor that line's still working and active and functional. Same thing with your alarm systems, right?
Yeah.
But then you have regular voice lines and fax lines, which a lot of people don't realize that they're old, I'll call it old school, for lack of a better pun, copper lines, where you just pick up a phone and use it. It's the same kind of lines that all of these travel over. All of these have traveled over for decades now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So when I look at this and we use a slide, if you will, or this graphic, almost every conversation, because it's basically a choose your menu with our customers, right? And I can tell you in an educational standpoint, what we see most often, that top bar is where we see the majority of the lines that are like, they're either going up or they're being cut or they go down all the time and we can't have them going down, whatever,
Right.
Whether it's a pain point of functionality or it's a pain point based on price. That fax line, that alarm panel, those emergency call boxes, those what we consider mission critical communications. That's what we see being jeopardized the most in this educational environment. SCADA is usually taken over already by a third party or so on and so forth, or it's already been routed back to a traditional routing solution. But those ones across the top, because they're set it and forget it solutions, they've been left on copper for years, and now only now have we really seen the, hey, you got to do something. And so that's where most of our conversations last, in that top bar, if you will.
Absolutely, yeah. I know there's still the last number I saw was 36 million copper lines still, know, and that might be a bit of an older article. So, it could be 34 million.
It could be, or it could be a lot more than that.
That's very true.
And honestly, because when you look at how many rural schools, like where I grew up, Buell, Idaho, right? You look at rural schools, rural locations, rural city infrastructure. There's places down in the Tola region, that Louisiana, Texas region, where the copper was put in the ground in the 1920s. Yeah. And a lot of people have really forgotten, oh, wow, that's a copper line? That's how we run this thing? And it's not until they go to the DMARC board and go to unplug something that they realize, oh, we've been paying for this for years and didn't even know. Yeah. And we have one that they didn't know that the line had been turned off. It'd been sitting there for 5 years, being paid on. Nobody knew. They had nothing plugged into it. Yeah. But the line was being paid for. And that's one of those monitoring pieces that we were talking about, is the actual mushroom cloud of what's coming. Who knows?
Yeah, right? That's a great point, honestly. If you encounter that frequently, you can't really get a very accurate audit count for that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That we have had to do site surveys to actually pinpoint down how many lines are actually there.
Wow.
So anyway,
that's awesome. Let's look at this next one here. So we ran this last year. How much do our LinkedIn followers pay for their POTS lines? So $50 to $100 was obviously far and away the winner. I know we were talking before, and you said that's probably gone up a little bit, right?
Yeah. So we're actually saying, and this could be a regional thing. Again, my region is, if you will, from Canada to the Mexico Gulf border, right? is generally, a lot of people, the mountain states, the flyover states, whatever you want to call it. So maybe our infrastructure costs are a little bit more because we get harder winters, harder windstorms, whatever. But my customers are seeing upwards of $80 to $120 a line.
Wow.
Per line, not per site. And 3 lines a piece, things get a little hairy when you start thinking about, okay, but I've got 57 schools we support or whatever it may be. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit higher than that on average, but also some of those folks have already seen that this is what it is today, Bill, right? It might have been that last year. They've already gotten their increases already. And that's why they're finally coming to us, because now the pain point with the pricing is to the point where maybe we need to do something about this. And that doesn't even take into account what happens when the landslide hits after August 2nd.
Man. Yeah.
Because POTS isn't going away, right? Everybody gets to still use it if they want, if you have a service provider willing to provide it.
Yeah.
But because of the structure of the way the FCC has done it, that pricing's been kept artificially low for years.
Yeah.
Now it's going to you're going to have to pay for what it's worth. And if you're in a more rural school or a more less urban environment that it's harder to keep that line active during storms or during incidences or whatever, there's a premium that comes with that truck roll, especially gas prices and labor costs and everything associated. Their provider costs go up, so therefore your costs go up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Anything to add there, David?
No, I mean, you're spot on, especially after the August 2nd. I liken it to, what our cable bills have been doing probably over the past 5 to 10 years, right? They used to be decently rated and everything, and then they've been gradually rising and rising and rising, even though the technology and everything used is supposed to be more efficient. It's supposed to be better. You're able to put more in through it, so it's the same kind of thing. And I mean, I don't know. I'm actually afraid to see what's going to happen August 2nd with those rates, because the carriers are just they're just gonna take that and kind of run with it at that point, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, being artificially low, they're going to need to support it to Ben's point. What's the actual cost of that truck roll, right? That's going to end up turning these, even $50 to $100 lines to $200, $300, $400 lines. I mean, think of T1s. What the T1s actually costs when you roll those out. They are extremely expensive. I mean, I remember we were putting those out at $500 to $800 a line, and that's a simple. That's a little T1. So this is more of a lifeline service. The carriers know it's a lifeline service to keep their services going and everything. So you're looking at a pretty penny for sure.
Yeah, great point. We had a wireline provider who also has a cellular arm to their company, flat out pass it to their cellular team, because they're like, not only will we not be servicing this area anymore within the next year, if we were, we lose money. We lose more money every year supporting that one line, because they have a one line in and one line out. Yeah. And he's like, and every year that line goes down on both sides. And we end up, whether it's a U-Haul pulling it out of the ground or a car smashing into a telephone pole. He's like, every year we're out there sending folks. He's like, you would think insurance would cover all that. He says it never covers the total cost. And so he passed it over to his cellular side and said, we need to figure a route to make this better. And that's one of the things that we did in the South Texas region. So anyway.
So, I mean, some of them literally have incentives to get people to switch over.
For sure.
Yeah. So I know you guys mentioned August 2nd a couple times. 117 days till then. So not a lot of time. Until we figure out what's going to happen.
In the procurement world that is K through 12, and anybody on here from K through 12, it's, you know better than us, but typically you got to go through, you got to do a POC, you got to make sure it works, you got to vet it. Everybody's got to feel comfortable that they're putting, like David put, those emergency lines, that mission critical communication. Everybody's got to feel great that the solution did exactly what RCN and Cradlepoint have promised.
Yep.
That takes time, right? And right now in today's supply chain, right now in today's market, it could be 30 to 40 days before we can even think about being on site to deploy this. And so I would say that 117 days, I would say if you're looking at this, you really need to be calling or talking to us here in the near future, next 30 days, if you want a solution in place come August. Not that we can't get it in there sooner. It's the process of getting through the POC, the procurement, making sure budget's there, all those things. We're seeing a 60 to 90 day turnover.
Yeah.
So we're talking 90 days. This leaves you maybe what? I'm not great at math, right? But maybe leaves you another 27 to 32 days.
Just about.
But
yeah,
especially in that K through 12 space, as we're starting to enter, summertime, which is their downtime to make a lot of these changes.
Yeah, good
Right.
point.
So it's
Summer
the
break.
best. It's the best time to start, talking about it and testing it at the very least.
Yeah, we have a couple of schools, and the numbers I'm giving are numbers that are legitimately what we're going through now. We have several schools we're working with Cradle Point right now, deploying the solution. With of all the different carriers, right? And so it's and honestly, some of them we started talking to in November.
Yeah.
And we're just now getting to full product launch planning. Yeah. So they are just now approving the funding so we can move forward with the purchase, so we can move forward with the deployment. Mm-hmm. So we're still talking another 30 days. And that's not a product of us. That's antennas, and that's people going on site, and hotel fees and plane flights getting delayed, and all those things that come into part that we're seeing right now, real world indicators of like, what's it take to get a job done every day? And we're seeing that, not because we don't want to. We'd love to show up tomorrow and install this, but that's not the way the world's working right now. So if you're interested in this, definitely reach out in the next little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Let's take a look at some of the challenges in replacing POTS lines.
Yeah.
I know we lightly talked about this at the beginning, but I've seen
there's a lot of challenges, but so
let's talk infrastructure. What are some of the challenges in infrastructure that we're looking at here?
Yeah, so I'll talk about what we've seen on site, and maybe David, if you could talk about some of the cellular health and some of the pieces, the triaging that Cradle Point allows us to do remotely, that allows us to ensure that things are working appropriately. I'll kind of hit how we stage it, and if you could take that after there.
Sure.
But if we look at this model right here, right, this blueprint, if that's what we want to call it, what we're looking at is two things. We need to know where your DMARC board is. And unfortunately, not all DMARCs are created equal. Again, talking about some of our older schools, some of our older government institutions or facilities alone, going back, if they're from the 30s or 40s, we are literally seeing like a Indiana Jones layer on top of layer of solutions that the wires were cut, and we just slapped another PBX, or we just slapped another control box, and we have to dig through all of that. So that's the first challenge we see is what's your DMARC environment look like? Some are extremely clean. We work with this guy, Dan. He is one of my favorite customers. And in all honesty, his DMARCs are the cleanest I've ever seen. And we've gotten to the point with him where we're doing over-the-air installs because, honestly, he understands our product. He's extremely intelligent, and it's literally plug and play. It's drill this here, put that there, and let's get off to the races. So I guess it's a sliding scale is what I'm trying to say. We have the Dans of the world, and we have other folks that will remain nameless that we have to go in there like Indiana Jones, and it takes us 2-3 hours of sifting through, fading out lines, making sure the copper there is actually still usable. Yeah. Right. That's one of the things, and we'll talk about some of our processes later, but going through that environment, that's the challenge. Yeah. Is your infrastructure today able to handle what we're about to bring and marry to it? And the great thing is we built a solution that does that very well, but it's still one of the challenges. Right. Dave, anything to add there? Am I missing on the integration side of it?
Well, that's if you know where your DMARC is. There's a lot of people out there that don't even know. So you're spending hours already locating that point of to where you can even begin that. So I mean that's hours on top of that. Right. But no, I mean to your point, some of these buildings that were built, early 1900s and earlier than that, right, that might have some of this stuff around. When you're talking cellular, you're going to have to find the right carriers that are going to match. Yep. Right. So for the solutions, when you're bringing in cellular to replace those pots, you got to find the right carriers. You got to find the right places to put these to get that signal in. But you kind of have to hope that it's right there where your DMARC is. Sometimes you have to do in a little extension, not a big deal, right? But I mean, fundamentally, it's the physical part is definitely by far the hardest.
Yep. Yeah. So one of the things that we do, right, in the infrastructure challenge, right? So where's your DMARC board? And that's David hit it nail on the head, right? We had our newest employee on the operations side, who's actually going to help lead that side of it for us. he literally walked around with the customer on camera doing a live share with us on like Teams or Messenger or something. And we walked through, I can't tell you how many rooms. This is this was a brand new building built within the last 2 years.
Wow.
And he walked around for a good 45 minutes before we could find the demarc station. This is a brand new building.
Yeah.
And we still took 45 minutes to find it. And we were going up and down stairs, you name it. It was, so imagine what an older facility where not everybody knows what's going on. So yeah, there's that. Another challenge to tip on what David mentioned, the cellular thing. We need to decide, is an external antenna from one of the OEMs out there that builds antenna solutions for Cradlepoint, is it easily accessible? Can we run one to the roof? Can we run a panel patch? Or do we just need to punch through the first floor and get it on an open space near a window? We don't need a lot of throughput to make the solution work, right? Analog lines themselves don't offer a ton of throughput. So it's not like we need a lot to stay functionable, but there is a process that goes into place with that site survey, with that customer engagement that says, where do all these pieces have to fit? And unfortunately, there is no easy button.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody that tells you it's the same every site, don't worry about it. They're lying to you and they're just trying to take your money and run.
Yeah.
They're not delivering a solution that's going to be there for the long haul. And that's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. It's a sham wow experience. They talk you into spending a bunch of money and then they turn around and they don't deliver on that solution.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that us partner with Cradlepoint and those peripheral antenna vendors that we think we've really got that mastered.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Anything else to add here, David, before I move to the next slide?
Nope, not on this one.
All right. So in addition to individual infrastructure, sometimes you have multiple buildings, right? So this is University of Central Florida. Based on their website, I got a count of around 1,400 buildings as part of the university. I mean, what does replacing POTS lines in something that massive look like?
It's like a small, honestly, I've got cities that we're working with Cradlepoint, and the cities have fewer than some of these universities.
Wow.
A lot of universities in the U.S. have been, especially your we won't name names here, but those tried and true, been here forever universities, they've got buildings everywhere. They've got sub-campuses. The infrastructure is a little bit mind-boggling because they have more than some of the cities that they're part like in, right?
Wow.
So we have one that there's a school within 30 minutes of a city that we're doing. The city has like 95 lines. The school has 1,500. Right. And B, for whatever reason that may be, right? But it's all elevators. It's all alarm panels. It's the same top deck things that we're talking about. So the problem we get when we go into these situations is the best case scenario, everything comes to one or multiple demarc boards that are centrally located. So you may have an external building, but the copper line that's underneath going through conduit or whatever, it comes back to a centrally located demarc. That's the best case scenario for everyone. Right. It's the cleanest, it's the easiest. But what's great about the way we handle this is we go out, we geotag everything, we mark everything, we make sure again, look at the lines, what's usable, what's not. Do we need to do a one-to-one kit at the single site, or we can do a one-to-many kit at that in-point transmission demarc or that centrally located demarc we were talking about? That is something that, unfortunately, I've only had one customer that had all these teed out to it. Like, here's where they're at. Here's where it's located. Everybody else was like, yeah, we're going to need you out here for a week. And that goes to that process we were talking about. I don't know what to send you until you tell me, until we get a hands on this and figure out what's actually in that environment.
Right.
David,
that goes back to that. Well, that goes back to that 117 days. It might seem like a lot, a little over 3 months, 3.5 months. But if you're looking at a site kind of like UNCF here, is that really enough time to even map out where all this is and make sure the right solution's put in, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'll stop there, right? At the end of the day, I'm a sales guy, and great, 1,700 lines, 1,700 kits. That's not right. We want to deliver the right solution every time, right? Yeah. We want you to, we want to deliver on our promise of expect more here at RCN, and Cradlepoint is very similar in what they try to drive forwards. This is the right solution, and it's built for a specific purpose.
Right.
We're not just going to throw 1,700 units at you and be like, okay, go have fun.
Yeah.
We really want to make sure you have the right solution, and that's where that planning stage is. Of this is a 36 month to 60 month term, if you will. When we go through this, it's very similar to the current telecom procurement environment you're looking at. We do it a little bit different, and we can talk about that later. But for our purposes, we really want to figure out what the right solution every time for you is going to be. And that's where this is a more intimate conversation about your physical environment and your networking environment kind of blends itself together to deliver the right product.
Absolutely.
So that's all I really have on that.
Okay, right on. Let's see. I saw someone in the chat asking about the actual solution. We've got one more slide to go after this, and then we'll get into the solution. So
for sure.
Just hold tight for just a second. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about today was lack of support, right?
Yeah.
So to know if your POTS lines are down, there's really two ways, traditional POTS lines. So it's either scheduling maintenance checks, which are costly and take a lot of time, frankly.
Yeah.
And then the second way is just to find out once it's down,
Right. So I'll use some anecdotal information. So we have a university we worked with actually on the emergency blue light poles. We have several that we're working with, but on this specific one, nobody knew that their pole was down, and they went back and checked their analog testing report, right? They test not biannually, but twice a year, whatever that ends up being. And between the time that they tested last and when the student touched the button and it did not work during a very significant emergency, they have no idea when it went down. And they don't know how many times somebody else pushed that button and didn't report it. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
The visibility to what don't we know. That just happened. This incident was so bad that it ended up in a little bit of a kerfuffle, if you will, and ended up with some bad PR. And we were able to go in and provide a service that we are remotely monitoring, making sure total uptime, does it have power, is it operational, and then also be able to see that on off. Are we up and running? Are we not? And being able to provide that as a system down uptime type alert, leveraging that same platform that Cradlepoint's been known and loved for, which is our Net Cloud Manager. We can tell you what's going on with those clients at all times. Well, we've taken that same mentality and applied it to analog lines, right? Really taking you from a reactive environment into a proactive solution environment that gives you some visibility on these analog solutions that typically was only reserved for client solutions like David and the team would typically work with. Yeah. Anything to add there, Dave?
No, I think you covered that, pretty extensively.
Yeah. So the other thing on the support, we're domestic. We have here where you call us, there's somebody here. There's 24/7, 365, email support tickets, also, pre-checks, health checks, right? If we see something before you see something, we're letting you know, leveraging that same single pane of glass type environment that Cradlepoint's always delivered. We're delivering that in this POT solution, if you will. So there's a lot we can do in different ways, and leveraging both the Cradlepoint side of it as well as the actual what we call our tech service support side of it. And those are individual conversations. It really is more of a menu pick. You tell us what you need, and we will help deliver the right all-encompassing solution that kind of meets that need, and then maybe then some.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's talk about the solution then.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this was supposed to be a GIF, and it would be a lot cooler if it worked out. But this is the logo for our newest solution, so you can kind of see the analog waves going into digital. What we've got is called POTS Link. So this is kind of an evolution to the POTS over LTE solution that we'd had before. But we just tried to simplify everything, make it into one really powerful package. I know we simplified the pricing, simplified support. Got a lot more to do with fire panels. Ben, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so not specifically about the fire panels, but what I can say is we designed this. It used to be, okay, we're going to have to tailor this kit to that customer's needs. And really, when we were talking about all the infrastructure questions and all the deployment questions and the POCing that a lot of different entities need to do to prove that we've got the right solution picked, our thought was, why don't we build something that is a little bit more all-encompassing, a little bit more holistic, and provides a one-stop shop, if you will, for the solution you need. So we don't need multiple solutions to do the same thing generally, but with different solutions, right? An HVAC unit and a fire alarm unit, or a dispatch door ajar unit, those all operate a little bit different.
Yep.
And the problem is your fax lines are going to operate a whole lot different on that digital to analog converter or analog to digital, sorry, than say a fire alarm. Well, now we went and built a solution that can house that all in one, actually decreasing your total footprint need, decreasing the total number of kits, going back to that map spot, right? Instead of needing to do 1,700 individual kits, we now have a kit that we can maximize the total capability and flexibility of that solution per site. And that's something that I'm extremely excited about, because now I don't have to explain why we need 3 different kits at the same site. It's we've got one to do it all.
Exactly. We're really excited about this. So what powers it? So this is a sneak peek, so we'll show you a little bit, but it is currently powered by Cradlepoint. David, can you kind of walk us through what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean the POTS link is a fantastic solution, full with your digital to analog to digital conversion. And then
I messed you up, David. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. No, and as you said, powered by Cradlepoint. So it's most of them, the kit's powered by the IBR 600 series device. It's more than capable to handle the throughput for the analog lines that you're replacing for the digital here. And to Ben's point, this is kind of our claim to fame, having the zero touch deployment capabilities, being able to monitor that the lines are up and down, so your connectivity is there and present and available, being able to alert you if it happens to go down, so that I've got a problem with this box, or in your case with this POTS link site, my lines are most likely down because my connectivity is not there. Being able to do security policy updates. We have a full lifecycle management on the box. So when the device is in the kit, it's fully backed by our warranty, by our service, by our support. Lifetime updates as long as the device remains in service. All that. So we're really excited to power the kit by our tech here, and just really excited to see how things progress as we move on. That's not to say that all we do here is just provide connectivity to the POTS link. Having us in the kit, we're able to provide more capabilities to the site as well, because there might be some lightweight connectivity that you might need outside of just the phone lines. Well, this kit enables that and allows that capability as well. Some out-of-band management components and stuff like that. So being in this kit, being able to be deployed at your locations, it just helps you service your customers, because at the end of the day, everyone that we're making work and having everything go, it's our customers, regardless if they're people that are paying for us, regardless in education facilities, K through 12, the students are our customers, right? So we have to make sure they're getting everything that they need out of it, even if they're not directly using the service. They are indirectly impacted by the service if it's down.
Yeah. So, are you good there, Dave?
I am.
Yeah. So what you said 2 things, and I was thinking about it. So, and I will highlight somebody who's incredibly, just an incredible sales rep for the Tola region, Osa Jennings. By her applying remote management, like with the advanced functionality, so we sold an essentials package because we thought for this customer that's all we needed. She went in, was able to turn on advanced over the air. Literally, I'm talking less than 3 hours. Turn it on. Our team was able to remotely connect and operate within some of the peripheral componentry, right? The ATA, some of the Tacophone panels, like different things that we were working on, the emergency panels that we were working on. And because of the Cradlepoint, we were able to prevent a completely redundant truck roll. These guys were going to have to pick up, go home, back to Florida, and then drive back out and the customer wasn't going to eat that bill, right? So from a provider standpoint, on the carrier side, on the OEM side, we provided something because of that Cradlepoint functionality that honestly, I was sweating bullets the entire morning. We flipped that on. We were able to complete that project. Customer was happy. And it really highlighted to me why that advanced solution that the IBR 600 or even the IoT 900 comes with is such a great tool. And the other thing to go along with that was just, we have the ability in an emergency situation, because the kit comes with the UPS, right? 12-hour battery life. If your power goes out, these lines stay up. So that's the other thing, right? you can still pick up the phone and call dispatch. That fire alarm is still operating. It's got 12 hours of battery life. If you need additional hours, call us. We can work out that solution, right? There's other things that we can do, but included is that 12-hour UPS. Well, once if you have an emergency solution that is land-based or does need an ISP-based line, and you don't have another solution, Cradlepoint is a failover solution. There's some things that we can do in a pinch to help you stay up and running, and we can talk to you about that too. And that this kit kind of fills in the gap. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. But this Cradlepoint device in our POTS-Link solution, it's a hell of a tool.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and to Ben's point on being able to flip the switch for advanced, having the Cradlepoint in the solution, you're able to push updates to the solution.
Yeah.
Right. So your conventional POTS line, if it needs an extra pair or whatever, someone has to go out and physically do it, physically manage it, physically touch it. And that's about all you can do as far as advancements on a POTS line. Whereas with these new systems like the POTS-Link, we can push software updates to add features, to add capabilities and the like. So just having this all bundled together, it's a strength all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that little sneak peek. Artec Solutions is actually going to be at Channel Partners with a couple of these in hand. So if you want to check it out in person, you're going to be at Channel Partners. Head over to booth 1143. David, I know you're going to be in and out of there, so go say hey to David.
Little plug. Cradlepoint will also be at Channel Partners as well.
Yes,
we'll be just a couple aisles away in 1561. But I'll be in and out of the booths during the conference. So feel free to stop by, speak to anyone that's available.
We can help. We specialize in 5G and LTE network solutions that enable our customers to connect better because we provide the right solution every time. I hate to read it off verbatim and it's kind of boilerplate, but I mean, that very well defines what we do, right? I mean, it's very important to us to get that right solution every time.
100%. And Pete, honestly, the folks that argue with that, I go, what are you doing? Like not the folks here at RCN or Cradlepoint, because we understand and kind of live this. The mantras are very similar from Cradlepoint to RCN, but the folks on the outside in the telecom world, they're all they care about. They're like, well, why can't I get $300 off this line? And it's crazy to me. It's not the right solution. It doesn't help the customer.
Yeah.
And we're trying to change that story.
Exactly. So. Yeah. Let's see. Jump to the next one here. Here's this the contact information. I'll leave this up for just a second, but the next slide is actually going to have a URL that you can go to, and you can download all the slides from today. So definitely take advantage of that. But if you are interested, want to get in touch, check out who your rep is, and definitely reach out. I'll be excited to hear from you. Let's see.
I think we're all listed on LinkedIn too.
Yeah.
So if you saw a name, post it on LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll accept the connection, and we're happy to sync up however.
Yeah. So this is that URL. It's just rcntechnologies.com/POTS crash course. You can schedule that free POTS evaluation like we had talked about. Find out, if we're going to be saving you money, which is I can't say almost always, but it's very close to almost always the case. Yep. And you can also download the slides from today as well.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, I think we lost video there. So let's get us started here on Q&A while I pull that back up. Ben, do you care to, let's see, first one, will POTS-Link work with fire panels?
Yeah, so will POTS-Link work with fire panels? The answer is yes. Again, there's some we're going to hold hands and make sure everything is working as planned. But what I would say is, yes, we built this solution to ensure that it would work with all your POTS or analog solutions, including fire panels. So I would say that. I think the next question is, how do you deal with signal strength issues for LTE? Kind of hinted on this a little bit ago. So part of I know people throw around words like detailed and all-in approach, but it really is true. We are going to either work with you and or send one of our certified installers out to do a specific site survey, a walkthrough, a write-up, right? So you're getting this information back. We're going to tell you what that environment looks like. Even if you don't go with us, that is something you've paid for, and that's something you're going to retrieve or receive, I should say, and have at your fingertips moving forward.
Mhm.
But the plan is we're going to go in there and pick the right solution. If that means external antenna, great. If that means a more robust cradle point, like an IoT 900 that has some aggregation capabilities better than what the 600 can provide, then we're going to go to that. There's a lot we can do there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything to add to that, David?
No, I mean the biggest thing is just, I mean, it's the thing that we keep saying throughout the entire webinar here, right? Is we don't just position anything, we position the right solution.
Yep.
Right? So it's going to be the right solution for your needs, not the needs of the guy down the street. Your needs today, it'll be the right solution, right? And then the guy down the street will have a right solution for him, so on and so forth, all down the line. So very tactful, very adaptive, I should
Right.
say, for the whole solution is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I know we've harped on it a couple of times, but it really goes back to that, what was it, 117 days?
Yeah.
To get the right solution, we need to have the time to go and check everything out, find if there's any deadlines, yeah, I mean, it's pretty important.
Yeah. And the good news is we have the team built to be able to handle what's coming. So I would say don't let the calendar scare you, but RCN and Cradlepoint has the team put together to ensure that we can deploy on time. Just reach out, but don't wait too late.
Yeah. Awesome. We had a question about signal strength, and I know we were talking about this before.
Yeah. This isn't an NCM demo by any means, but I'll let David. David, can you kind of talk about the cellular health and throughput speed test pieces that you guys really bring to the table to allow us to make sure we're checking that environment, making sure that health is up and running?
Yeah. So I mean, you had mentioned the NetCloud Manager, Ben, earlier in the conversation, and I mean, NetCloud Managers are really it's our central pane of glass for everything that we deploy Cradlepoint wise, right? So any of the device models that we have in our portfolio, especially the ones that go on the POTS link here, you're able to not only configure the devices remotely from anywhere in the world, but you're able to see how those devices are operating, make sure they have the right signal where they are in the locations, check your speeds. As Ben said, we can run speed tests from within NetCloud Manager. We have cellular intelligence that's built in, so you're able to see, if the device fails over, when the device fails back, what kind of potential savings you have because you have the solution in place. Right, you're able to check a variety of signal metrics to make sure that where the device is placed or where the antenna that's connected to the device is placed is the right location for that. And as you move around, you can double check those signal metrics, double check those speeds to make sure you're getting what you need to out of the devices. But it all comes down to being able to manage and configure the devices as well. Getting those alerts when the device is down, when a plug is unplugged, when something happens. To being able to make configuration changes on the fly.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Awesome. I think we've got time for this one last question that I'd written down. How about existing equipment?
Yeah, no, that's a question I had too. Actually, this morning, a lot of people are worried. They're like, well, the copper is going away, but that doesn't mean your infrastructure needs to be ripped out, right? If your infrastructure, and again, this goes with us going in there, making sure everything works. But for the most part, we've built the POTS-Link system to be plug and play.
Yep.
We're using your existing solutions or your existing infrastructure there, and we're just disconnecting it from the DMARC going out and then rerouting that over that cellular bridge, depending on which carrier solution you want to move with. The whole point is to be as plug and play as possible. And I know that can be overused in technology, but legitimately, we're taking that RJ11 or whatever copper solution you have there. We're putting it into the ports at the bottom of the POTS link, and then we're handling the rest of the pass off from there.
Yeah.
So as long as your infrastructure is not absolutely destroyed and can't handle an RJ11 pass off or better, there's really nothing stopping us from using what you have on site and just creating that new tunnel or that new carrier bridge, if you will, coming off of that terrestrial system and going on to that more digital over cellular solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, we are coming up on time here. So I guess, actually, David, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? I apologize.
No, I mean, the plug and play, it's what's paramount here, right? So if you have lines that are in use today and are active and working, they're going to work with this solution, right? but this is also going to be the time when you find out you have lines that aren't working, because that's inevitably going to be what's happened, right? You might not be aware of it, to the point of the blue light conversation earlier. You might not even know that the lines are inactive or non-functional or damaged or whatever until you get out there with this site survey to check all of this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Spot on. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, the URL back on there one more time for you. If you guys wanted the sales map or any of the slides, or just wanted to get in touch to schedule a POTS checkup, we're happy to help. So with that, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, I just said yeah. I was agreeing with you. This stuff excites the hell out of me, so I'm good. Like, this is great. So
no, absolutely.
I think we have a wonderful solution. We have a great partner. We have multiple partners on the phone who kind of help us deploy this with us and act as the carrier fuel in our gas tank to make this engine run. But again, going back to that 3-prong attack, give us a call. Let's work together. Let's build this out and put the right solution together. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And thanks, David, as well for being on. We definitely appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ben and Mark.
No, definitely. And thank you to everybody that's watching. We appreciate your time today. And let us know if I'm seeing lots of 5s on here. So happy with that. So let us know if we can help you out.
Awesome.
Well, everybody have a great rest of your day.